Report. Sitting in for Charlie McGrath of WideAwakeNews on the one and only Rinse Radio Network. I've got a ton of news tonight, and a very special guest is going to be coming on the program. The show is going to be action-packed. I've got a ton of information, a ton of news. Before I bring on my very well-researched and highly sought-after guest, who has been in the background for the last 60 days or so, I wanted to bring you up to speed on what's going on in the financial and precious metals markets. Gold closed down today, $4.50. It currently sits at $1,160 an ounce. Silver lost 6 cents and now sits at $15.60 per ounce. Stock markets were fairly mixed today. Now, one of the things that I've been harping on all year is the illegitimacy of the Federal Reserve and how short-sighted that the world's stock markets were for waiting to hear what their latest decision was going to be, what might have been in their financial minutes in order to go and make trading decisions. You know, people look at the Federal Reserve as if they're some kind of monetary ruler of the world and as if they dictate reality. And all year long, I've basically been pointing out that they're becoming more irrelevant by the day because of the fact that Russia, China, other major economies like India, Brazil, and Chile have figured out that they don't need us anymore. As a result, they've established the BRICS Bank, and there has been a cataclysmic shift in the world away from the U.S. dollar. So basically, what the Federal Reserve does from here on out is really null and void because the rest of the world is no longer buying what we have to sell. And what we have to sell is U.S. debt and dollars. And the rest of the world doesn't want that. And, you know, the same thing, the reason why I started with that is the same thing can be said for the precious metals prices. The published spot price of gold and silver are becoming more irrelevant by the day. We have major shortages right now in both physical gold and physical silver markets. In fact, I've been in this business for 15 years. I've only seen it this bad once before, and that was in 2008. In 2008, silver had just fallen from $23 an ounce to $9 an ounce. So very similar to what we are seeing today. In fact, $23 and $9 was a 65% decline. We're currently at about a 68% decline from this most recent fall when it started falling from $49 an ounce. But the situation was very similar to today. We couldn't get our hands on it, especially at the published price. Silver, the published price of silver was $9, but I would have paid you $15 to get a 1 ounce silver eagle in 2008. We were paying $6 above spot. You couldn't get it. So the published price might tell you that it's $9 all day long, but if I, as a dealer, am willing to pay you $15, what's the real price of silver? And so instead of the tail wagging the dog, which is the paper futures market setting a spot price that does not connect with reality, well, eventually the dog begins to wag its tail, and that is the physical markets, supply and demand, have said that you have overcome this, they have overstepped their boundaries and manipulated the price so low that you can't even get it at that price. And I am, as a dealer, am willing to pay you more than the published price, and in some cases significantly more. So the point being is that they might tell you that silver is $15 an ounce, but if you have to pay $20 in order to get a silver eagle, and there's a 3 to 4 wait in order to get it, what does that tell you? And I, as a dealer, am here to report to you that premiums, the amount that I have to pay over spot to obtain silver and gold, are increasing on an almost daily basis. Delays are increasing on an almost daily basis. And why do I bring you back to 2008? Well, the last time that it was this bad, that's right before silver went up 444% over the next 3 years. Silver went from $9 to $49 an ounce between 2008 and 2011. We carry about 25 different products in silver. We're down to 5 or 6 products that we can get our hands on that are readily available right now. And it's true with modern minted coins. It's true with privately minted bars and rounds. It's true even with junk silver. And, I have people calling me and asking, what's your recommendation? Well, folks, I'm here to tell you, as far as silver goes, I don't have the luxury of giving you my recommendation. It comes down to what is available and what can I deliver it and at what price can it be delivered at. And so whether you buy from me or anyone else, I think the important thing is not, and I'm always the one that preaches, it's important to buy specific products and to kind of target your bullion market, if you will. But with the situation that exists today, get your hands on anything that isn't nailed down, whether you get it from me or someone else. Just make sure that it's in stock and can be delivered in a timely fashion, because I've seen people in 2008, thank goodness it was none of our customers, but we picked up a lot of customers from other companies who were waiting over 6 weeks to get product. And that's how drastic it is. That's how far that the manipulators have overplayed their boundaries. And in the process, the manipulators are also exposing themselves. Because if you can't get a product at the price that's published, what does that say for the published price? And if silver were to repeat the performance that we saw in 2008, silver would be over $90 by 2017. And I'm here to tell you that it's bad out there. People are snapping up this product. Our demand over the last several months has nearly tripled. And the U.S. Mint, in July, the U.S. Mint was on pace to produce maybe 35 million silver eagles. They're now on pace to produce over 40 million. In fact, it might be another record year. And people ask me, well, how can that be? How can you have such unprecedented demand during a time that the price is falling? Well, the reason why is because the tail is wagging the dog. The futures market is setting the spot price, and it doesn't reflect anything at all with what's going on in the physical market. So without any further ado, I would like to bring on my guest, the actual host of this show and the founder of WideAwakeNews Network, Charlie McGrath. You heard my intro, Charlie. What do you think about the economy? I love to bounce things off of you and get your insight and perspective. Where do you think we're headed here?
Well, if you look at the news, by the way, thank you. And you don't sit in for me every other Wednesday. This is your hour, and you're doing a great job at it. I really liked your interview with Michael Snyder 2 weeks ago, and I saw that it had a whole bunch of traction. So you're doing a great job over here on every other Wednesday. So you're not sitting in for me. This is your spot, and I greatly appreciate you coming on here and doing it. And everybody who's listening on Rinse, and Jeff Rinse himself, and the Waits, who have been so patient with me with the medical issues that I've been dealing with over the last couple months. I want to say thank you for your patience. Thank you for your great messages, and be rest assured that I'm back. There's just too much news going on. There's too many events, and I'm sitting here looking at this, and I'm like, I got to make a video. I got to get on the air, and I've just not been able to. So, but now things have changed. I'm on the right path, and I'll definitely be back. But anyway, back to your question. 17,612 on the Dow Jones, Gabe. I mean, come on, things are okay, aren't they? Unemployment's falling. We're going to have a record year in spending on Christmas. $600 billion is the estimate. The average person who is just following establishment business media, it is the exact same as it was in 2007 going into 2008, but far, far more dangerous for you and for me, for the people of this country, because we've shifted. We've completely lost our mind financially, right? We've went from where we had these banks that were systemic to all power. They're more powerful than the Federal Reserve at this point. They're more. They hold more power. They tell they own the Federal Reserve in the first place. But the Fed, who's the world's largest hedge fund now, when it comes crashing down, we are going to get the axe. These people at J.P. Morgan, Bank of America, Goldman Sachs, they're going to walk away scot-free. They've already walked away scot-free. A report came out just today showing that now 0.1% of the population of this country, 0.1, are now wealthier than the bottom 90%. That wasn't the case in 2007. In 2007, it was, the big banks were still dominating Washington, D.C. But in the last several years, they have managed to pull off a coup d'etat, and they've absolutely leveraged this country to the hilt. And when it comes crashing down, and I'm with you, I don't care what the gold spot is or silver spot is. When this comes crashing down, and it is going to, a lot of people think 2015 is going to be the big crash. Gabe, it could even be sooner than that. But when it comes crashing down, I think it's going to be cataclysmic for not only this country but the rest of the world who's got involved in this insane quantitative easing, this insane printing of debt, this insane leveraging of the people, of the sovereignty of the nations that they allegedly represent. I don't think you could stress enough the economic danger and pitfalls that are coming in our near future. And the hard thing about that, the hard thing about talking about this, and I'm sure you run into this, Gabe, looking at spot silver at $15, $16. The hard thing about it is a lot of people will say, yeah, come on, we've been hearing this since 2008. That it was going to crash in 2009 again, 2010, 11, 12. And the simple answer is, during that time that we could have expressed all this debt, we could have, these too big to fails could have been bankrupt. We would have been on a path to real recovery, real growth, real sustainable, a sustainable financial system that isn't completely corrupt. We would be well on the path of that, but instead of that, we've had a few people in Washington, D.C., Ron Paul, Sanders, a few that are scorned and looked down upon and run out, basically, of Washington, D.C., that saw the handwriting on the wall. But the rest of the members of Congress just buy right into whatever the Federal Reserve or these too big to fail banks had to say, and wrote legislation that made them the most powerful entities on this planet. As I said, more powerful than the Federal Reserve. It's hard to say that as they own them, but when it comes crashing down, you don't have to worry about the folks at the top of the ship here at Goldman Sachs and J.P. Morgan and these other two bigs. They're going to be just fine. It's going to be you and me and the people of the once great West who are going to be in shock. I think it's going to be, like I said, cataclysmic.
That's right, and that's what the rest of the world is preparing for, trying to insulate themselves for what they know is inevitable. Yeah. And that's why the BRICS have started a new bank. Even Alan Greenspan, I'm sure you've heard this. He came out recently, and you probably know back in the 60s, he wrote a book called Gold and Economic Freedom. Some people call it a short story. Other people call it an essay. But in any case, he wrote a paper on gold and economic freedom. And some of the quotes from there was, in the absence of a gold standard, there's no way to protect your savings from confiscation through inflation. And he goes on to say, the financial policy of the welfare state requires that there be no way for owners of wealth to protect themselves. This is the shabby secret of the welfare statist's tirades against gold. Deficit spending is simply a scheme for the confiscation of wealth. Gold stands in the way of this insidious process. It stands as a protector of property rights. If one grasps this, one has no difficulty in understanding the statist antagonism toward the gold standard. And the reason why I bring that up is, as you know, Charlie, he recently penned a paper to the Council on Foreign Relations talking about China, that he wouldn't be surprised to find out that China had accumulated more gold than the United States even. Mm-hmm. And he went on to say, In a speech to the Council on Foreign Relations, those guys are such rosy folks over there at the council. They said, he said, Mr. Greenspan said gold is a good place to put money these days, given its value as a currency outside of the policies conducted by government. And then in a separate interview on the same day, he asked, do you think gold is currently a good investment? He was asked, rather. Greenspan replied, yes, remember what we're looking at. Gold is a currency. It is still, by all evidence, a premier currency. No fiat currency. I think whenever you have people, everyone wondered whatever happened to Greenspan, but he was a gold bug back in the 60s and 70s, and then once he got into the Federal Reserve, he sold his soul like most of them do. But here he is talking about gold again. What do you take from that, Charlie? And, to me, it's kind of bizarre and odd, but the bigger part of this story is not what he said. It's the fact that the Council on Foreign Relations scrubbed it from the transcript and didn't post it on their website until they were called out on the fact, and have since gone back and included that most important quote that gold is a currency, a premier currency, and no fiat currency, including the dollar, can match it.
Yeah. Well, I think I think that it's always been that way, Gabe, where the players, if you will, Greenspan, Yellen now, the folks at the top of the Federal Reserve, the folks at the top of these too big to fail banks, they understood what gold and silver was, and over the last several years they have been just accumulating it. A lot of it, they're accumulating is just paper, but a lot of physical as well. And I think the comments by Greenspan are because they understand what's coming, and they understand that fiat currencies, not just the dollar, but fiat currencies around the world are going to blow up. We've expanded and inflated them to the point where Weimar Republic, I think, is going to look like a joke compared to what's coming. And I mean, maybe am I completely wrong on that, Gabe? I mean, I'm shocked.
No, and here's why, is because what happened in the Weimar Republic is very, very similar to what has happened here in the United States. They also engaged in quantitative easing, but the difference is that, I say here in the United States, the whole world is involved in this experiment now. Right. Japan has just blown the atomic bomb, and I hate to use that analogy when talking about Japan, but what they did with their quantitative easing program, what Europe has done with its quantitative easing program, what the United States has done with its quantitative easing programs, and you throw that all together and it's Weimar times 10, because it's not just a single country.
Right. And they're all tied together and they're all leveraged against one another. And, Europe, a larger economy than the United States, bigger population. Michael Snyder wrote a great article a week or so back about how that number one global economy, considering all of Europe, is on life support. I mean, the ECB is now, it's now negative interest rates going on inside of Europe. The game is, I don't know how it can keep running. You got China and Russia deciding that they're going to form their own alliance, and they're going to trade in their own currency. They're going to get away from Western currency, get away from the U.S. dollar. And these are monster economies that are absolutely critical for Europe. I mean, Russia's energy resources to Europe drive that economy. And you see these players, these BRIC nations, that are deciding they're getting away from the West, and at the exact same time, the West is expanding the debt, and which is the same as to say they're stealing the sovereignty of the people of these nations, and it's only a matter of time. Just like Weimar Republic, and in that case, they were printing money to pay off World War I debt. And you're right, it was one nation. But now you have, the whole Western world that is basically at the mercy of this massive inflation that has to continue, asset inflation that has to continue, because the second it doesn't, and the second that we have real interest rates again, it's over. I mean, it is completely over. You will, look at it now. For your basic necessity items like food, it's inflated to the point where, you want to pay $9 for a pound of a hamburger. What's it going to be when we see an interest rate increase of just 1 or 2%? it's going to be a bloodbath, and it's going to happen. I think, Gabe, instantaneously. I think, Europe is going to stumble, and instantaneously it's going to spread throughout the West. And sitting back, I think, will be these BRIC nations who are positioning themselves right now to take care of one another through economic trade and energy trade, like we see with Russia and China. So, I know that it's not a very sexy subject right now, and it's not getting a lot of attention. But the markers that were available for people to see in 2007, before the 2008 collapse, are the exact same as the markers we see now. It's only there's more death and there's more danger for the average person.
That's exactly right. Headed to break here, Charlie. Y'all stay tight. We'll be back on the backside here.
Right on.
The word is out. GetTheT.com. People are waking up to all natural products that help your health. GetTheT.com is the web address to optimum health naturally. Life Change Tea is not just green tea. It is a blend of 8 herbs, specially blended to work and help with your digestive tract. When your stomach feels good, you feel good. Get rid of the yuck that stores up in your colon. Lose some weight naturally. Feel good and enhance your energy. All natural, no caffeine, and it tastes great. Don't wait. Order now at GetTheT.com. That's GetTheT.com. Or you can call us at 928-308-0408. 928-308-0408. Tired of the fear of health loss and sickness? Give your immune system some love. Log on to GetTheT.com. Life's too short to worry and fear. It's time to smile at your doctors naturally. GetTheT.com.
This is Richard Ostro, owner for Carnivora Research International. In 1985, former President Ronald Reagan requested that Carnivora be sent directly to the White House from Europe, where it was manufactured at the time, effectively making him the first American to use Carnivora. He used it successfully for a serious immune challenge, which we are prohibited from mentioning in the United States. I would like to add that he used Carnivora approximately 8 years prior to the onset of his Alzheimer's condition, for those of you inadvertently connecting the two events. Visit us at Carnivora.com, now used in 27 countries around the world. Carnivora instinctively seeks out abnormal cells only that don't belong in the body without harming a single normal cell. 100% pure, natural, and harmless to humans and animals. Call 1-866-VENUS-FLY. That's 1-866-VENUS-FLY, or visit Carnivora.com. Your immune system will thank you.
Oxygen. It's nature's oldest therapy and plays an essential role in destroying viruses, bacteria, mold, yeast, and fungus, and keeping the human body healthy and strong. Now, you can give your body and your immune system a mega boost of disease-fighting oxygen with all-natural Oxy-C. With so many people now leading a sedentary indoor lifestyle, most are in a chronic state of oxygen deprivation, which sets up a perfect environment for disease, general fatigue, and a host of other symptoms. Oxy-C is yours in simple, convenient capsules. Nothing to mix, nothing to hassle with. Take it with juice or water anytime. Feel a cold or flu approaching? Have no energy or spark anymore? Try all-natural Oxy-C and prepare to be amazed. Oxy-C is only available from New Earth Health Solutions at Rense.com. Look for the New Earth banner at Rense.com.
All right, Gabe Elton with the Austin Report on the one and only Rinse Radio Network. I wanted to give my company a plug here. Make sure to visit our website. You can visit our site at www.austincoins.com. From there, you can get to our blog. You can get to the Learning Center. You can get to our YouTube page, where this show will be featured, hopefully by tomorrow, and view all of our liked videos there. So just to touch on a couple of articles, and then moving on and getting Charlie's opinion on this as well. One of the articles is, hey, Russia is nearing the completion of a second Holy Grail gas deal with China. You might remember earlier in the year we talked about the Holy Grail gas deal. Well, now they're starting the opening of another pipeline going along a more western route in China. That deal has been signed. I don't know if you guys saw the pictures of Obama while he was visiting China, but during a dinner and during a photo op, he was basically sat down with the wives while the premier of China or president, whatever they have over there these days, and Putin were front and center. So it's very, very clear that Obama got the cold shoulder. I don't know if you've seen his video and pictures of him over there, but I hate to say what an idiot he appeared like while he was there. He was chewing gum the whole time, and they thought that was very disrespectful. I think it's a perfect representation of where our country is headed, not just Barack Obama. So another thing regarding the gold markets is physical gold. The shortage in physical gold is the worst in over a decade. In fact, the forward interest rates on gold is the most negative since 2001. That means people who want gold today instead of in the future have driven this market, these what they call GOFO rates, to the most negative that they have been since 2001. Why is that important? Because the same thing that I mentioned at the beginning of the show regarding silver. The last time that we have seen physical supplies this tight in silver was in 2008. That was right before it went up 444%. The last time that GOFO rates were this negative in gold was 2001, which is right before gold started its bull market and went from $250 an ounce to over $1,900 an ounce over the next 11 years or 10 years or so. So that's where I think we are in both gold and silver markets, is on the precipice of a big breakout. All of the indicators, as Charlie pointed out, are there. All the indicators that we're in for a massive economic awakening are there. All of the indicators that we're in for a massive uptrend in gold and silver prices are here. The only thing that we're waiting for is for it to actually happen. And as I said before, regardless of what they tell you gold and silver are worth, go out and try to buy it and find out how much gold and silver is worth, and you'll see the fraud. So another thing is a lot of these bankers are starting to jump ship, and the European financial regulators are starting to come down. In fact, they've said that there is a clear attempt to manipulate prices in the precious metals market. Bank of England fired their chief FX dealer because he was participating in a currency rigging scandal. Hold on. The Bank of England, the central bank, the Bank of England, their chief FX dealer was busted participating in currency rigging scandal. And what they were saying is he was giving out privileged information to firms that allowed them to make money off of what should have been private conversations. And the funniest thing, Charlie, I'll bring you back on here, is, I've talked to you privately about it. I may have even talked about it on the show. But some of the people that I get to talk to are very well connected and very well experienced. In fact, Shane McGuire, for instance, he manages a $12 billion fund, which is like the 12th largest pension fund in the world. He gets courted all over the place. You might have heard my email. I've been getting emails while I was here on air, and he and I were emailing each other back and forth because I played devil's advocate with him. I kind of explained where, these guys spent too much time in college because they could never fathom something happening that they weren't taught in school, and they were taught in Keynesian economics. Well, he and I had an argument I don't know, back in 2007 and 2008, I sent him an article from Zero Hedge talking about how the U.S. debt was going to be downgraded. And he said, why are you sending me information from an obscure blog? And that will never happen. Well, now he sends me information from Zero Hedge, and it did happen. Yeah. You see what I'm saying? And so anyway, another thing that he and I have always had an argument about is whether or not gold and silver were manipulated. And so this evening he sends me an email on an article that I've actually got in my stack here. It's UBS precious metals misconduct found by FINMA, and it's referring to the financial regulators have found that gold and silver were manipulated. Well, this was another big argument of ours. He said that it would never happen. Well, now here we are. Of course, it happened. So I replied to him and basically said, hey, that's impossible. Precious metals couldn't be being manipulated. And then I also said, in the article, there was a reference to CPM Group, who said that $5 trillion of silver was traded last year and $18 trillion of gold. And I asked him, what kind of leverage is that? And what did they just admit to? He said, oh, well, they don't have to admit to nothing to admit to. Everyone knows there's leverage in gold, just as there is leverage in housing, art, stocks, bonds, and commodities. And that's the thinking of these very well-educated, very well-connected people, that it's absolutely normal. And the leverage, by the way, I already knew the answer to the question, was 250 times. They're trading 250 times the amount of futures, paper, silver contracts than they have the silver to sit there. And I always tell the story about Kyle Bass. You can watch it on YouTube. When he was buying $1 billion worth of gold for the University of Texas. And they allowed him, he's a trustee for the Regents, they allowed him to go through and actually audit the COMEX. And he says, based on our findings, Kyle's talking to the CEO or whoever his contact was there. He says, based on our findings, if 4% of the people stand up and ask for delivery, you will go bust. The COMEX will go bust. And the guy he was talking to replied to him and said, well, that's not going to happen. And Kyle Bass asked him, why? Why would you say that? And he says, because it never has happened. And that's the thinking of these people, that it's absolutely normal to have a market that's 250 times leveraged, and it's absolutely normal to run an operation where you bank on the fact that 4% will not stand for delivery. And, you mentioned about everything going up up in an explosion in the financial markets. Well, the same thing's going to happen in gold and silver when this fraud is figured out. And we're just at the tip of the iceberg. So any thoughts on that, Charlie?
No, I couldn't agree with you more. I mean, it is traded just like mortgages, just like these other commodities that are leveraged to the hilt. And it's, again, if we look, you mentioned it a second ago, if you look at some of the signs of so-called prosperity that we had in 2008, like margin debt, like S&P and the Dow being at all-time high, debt, personal or private debt being at an all-time high. These are the indicators that led to 2008 collapse, and we're sitting there right on the precipice again. Jerome Levy Forecasting Center, a very well-respected forecaster that saw a bunch of things coming, including 2008, it now puts it at a 65% chance of global recession in 2015. And I don't, they use this word recession, and it sounds, it sounds not so dangerous. But I don't think you can have a global recession anymore, Gabe. I think you're either inflating and expanding or you're imploding, period.
That's right, because it's leveraged to the hilt with derivatives. As Michael Snyder pointed out in an excellent article, 5 U.S. banks each have more than $40 trillion of exposure to derivatives. It's mind-numbing. No one understands what a trillion is, and I've used this analogy over and over. A trillion seconds is over 300,000 years. And 5 U.S. banks have more than 40 times that in exposure to derivatives. So you're right, Charlie.
I think you got a commercial running here, Gabe. Sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off.
Go ahead.
No, we're at break right now. We'll be right back with Gabe Elton of the Austin and more Wide Awake News Radio. Hang tight.
What comes to your mind? Spending the last years of your life in a nursing home? Staring out a window? Medicated to keep you docile? Not able to recognize your own kids? Suffering with some dreaded disease until you die all alone? Well, think again. One of the premier doctors in the world, Dr. James Forsythe, wrote the book Anti-Aging Cures. Life-changing secrets to reverse the effects of aging. Your key to the real fountain of youth. And Suzanne Summers, the perpetual face of eternal youth, wrote the foreword. As mentioned in the book, Royal Velvet is the most cost-effective, easiest, and complete way to reverse the effects of aging. It's true. So, do you want glowing skin, less wrinkles, thicker hair, less gray hair, your hormones balanced, improved memory, a toned physique, greater energy, less pain and stiffness, as well as benefits too numerous to name? Go to RoyalVelvetNow.com. Click on the rinse icon in the upper right-hand corner, and within a couple of days, you can be on the path to youthful living. RoyalVelvetNow.com. Your life will never be the same.
Charlie McGrath of WideAwakeNews.com here with a question for my friends at Austin Rare Coins and Bullion. What do they know that we don't? Insiders and a who's who list of elite have made it crystal clear that we are headed for catastrophe, putting out warning after warning, urging people to batten down the hatches. Billionaire George Soros has recently been dumping stocks and at the same time acquiring millions in gold. In fact, in a recent interview, he was quoted as saying, "I'm not here to cheer you up. The situation is as serious and difficult as I've experienced in my career." Out of control government deficit spending and a Federal Reserve that's only solution seems to be print more fiat currency will lead to a weaker dollar and massive inflation on necessity items such as energy and food. If you have wealth to protect, please visit my friends at Austin Rare Coins and Bullion. Gabe Elton and the folks at Austin Rare Coins and Bullion have many Wide Awake News customers because they're honest, they're fair, and they won't sell you paper promises or product they do not have. Call Gabe Elton at 800-552-4109. That number again, 800-552-4109, or visit them online at austincoins.com.
Make a promise, take a vow, trust your feelings, it's easy now. Understand the voice within and feel a change already beginning. Whoa.
All right, Gabe Elton with the Austin Report, having Charlie McGrath on the show, back from a 60-day kind of medical leave, if you will.
Medical hell.
Yeah, you know, I was worried about you too. I hadn't seen your videos. I follow you a lot. I was wondering what was going on. I thought you might be traveling for work, but I'm glad to hear that things are going good and you're, back out there making some videos.
Well, I mean, tonight is the first time in a couple of weeks that I've been able to come on the Rinse Network, and I was emailing with Jeff last night, telling him, that I'm feeling a lot better. I'm going to be back in the saddle on Wide Awake News Radio here on the Rinse Network, but I'm also going to be back in on videos. And like I said at the opening, Gabe, it pained me. It was literally depressing. It was depressing me to see the news that was going on, not just in the financial sectors and gold and silver, but politically, geopolitically, what's going on with the saber rattling around the world in Eastern Europe, and going on with ISIS and the supporting of that we are supporting through the actions of our so-called leadership, supporting these terrorist groups, and it pained me. Like I said, it was literally depressing to me to not be able to do commentary on them because of my respiratory situation. But I'm like I was talking to you before the program. I'm on a better path now, and soon I'll be traveling to the number one respiratory hospital in the country, and they actually think. It's very interesting, and I don't want to burn up the rest of your program with it.
No, that's fine.
Okay. They were very much interested in my military background, and for those of you who followed the YouTube channel, you know that I was in the Gulf War, and I had a lot of symptoms that could not be explained, and I did quite a lengthy video that got a lot of traction about Gulf War syndrome and when I talked to this respiratory hospital, like I said, it's the number one in the nation. One of the first things they asked me was about my military service, and they wanted to know if we were involved in burning human waste. That's a big deal right now. A lot of vets who were deployed, they burn their waste. And, it's very, very toxic, and they stand there over these barrels for hours at a time. That, as well as the exposure to oil well fires in Kuwait. And and a lot of you also know that I'm not battling, but I'm waiting on the VA right now in a situation that has to do with these illnesses, these Gulf War syndrome type illnesses. So hopefully, it all works out, regardless of what the VA does, regardless if I have to go flat broke. I'm excited to get down to this hospital and let them continue to improve my condition. But as of now, I'm able to get back on, do videos, do the radio program. I'm completely stoked about it and happy to be back.
That's great. The U.S. government would never use their U.S. troops as guinea pigs, would they?
No. We just had experimented botulism and anthrax vaccines and
it's close to home, actually. I have an uncle who is actually I guess he's probably about 6-7 years older than me, so it was really more like a brother than an uncle. And he was out there as well, and he's had all sorts of problems. That was in the first Gulf War with you.
Right.
So it's unbelievable what those people brought home. But Charlie, whenever we first started talking, I don't know, maybe 4 or 5 years ago, did you ever think, both of us had an idea of where we were headed.
Right.
And I believe both of our ideas have been not only met but surpassed. I mean, things are wilder than I would have ever guessed that they would be. But the only thing is the illusion of growth in the economy, the illusion of a good job market, the illusion that things are getting better. The stock market keeps going up. Gold and silver are falling. Things are great. But in reality, they're worse than you and I could have ever imagined. The only thing that hasn't happened yet is a complete collapse in the markets and an explosion in the gold and silver price.
Yeah, well, I agree. I mean, I was just looking at nationaldebtclock.org. I'm on here all the time, just, looking at some of these statistics or some of these numbers coming up. When we first started talking, Gabe, I believe the stated national debt was about $7 or $8 trillion, and here we sit at almost 18 trillion. Again, this is just what's reported. We look. I said earlier in the program the redistribution of wealth. Now that's usually a term that conservatives like to slam liberals with, but it truly has happened, but not in the way that neocons want you to believe. This 0.1% now control 90% or have more wealth than the bottom 90%. The explosion of debt, not only here in the United States, but in Europe and in the West altogether. The expansion of the Federal Reserve to be the largest hedge fund in the world. All of this being done on the backs, the future financial backs of the people of this country. 17,600 on the Dow. I mean, these things that are happening absolutely blow my mind. And I'm it is hard to sit here and see these type of things unfold and have people just not. They just want to tune you out because they think, well, they fixed the problem from 2008. That financial crisis is long since over, right? And we're way past 6,000 on the Dow, and we're 17,000 now. They handled the crisis in a way that led to prosperity, but it isn't prosperity. It is stealing. I mean, it's literally stealing the future of this country and spending it now. Only to lead to calamity at some point in the future. The only question, Gabe, is when. Because I would have never guessed that in doing the radio program in 2009 and 10, that we would be sitting here going into 2015 with record numbers on the Dow and all this optimism in the economic media. At the same time, seeing the millennials pile on student loan debt, now the largest, larger than the credit card debt, and coming out of college with all this debt and not able to find anything more than a $12 an hour job. I'm shocked when I sit here and look at where we've come since 2008 and how the people of the country don't draw a connection to what happened then and what's about to happen in our near future. So, but I think you're right. I think that what we've talked about as far as expanding debt, not only has it occurred, it has surpassed anything that I would have thought possible, without a doubt.
Right, and then the fact that the rest of the world is moving away from the U.S. dollar. These are things that we've been, I've been talking about for more than a decade, and it's now happening right in front of us. The debt is expanding at an unbelievable velocity, and here we are with a stock market at 17,000 points and silver at 15. This is a perfect time to position yourself. So give us a call at Austin Coins, 1-800-928 6468. The only other thing that I was thinking while you were talking, Charlie, is the Federal Reserve reminds me of Chevy Chase in Vegas Vacation. And what they have done to us and our kids is what the dealer told Chevy Chase whenever he came out, and I'll paraphrase, he comes back to the dealer. The dealer's been spanking him the whole movie. And the dealer says, look, why don't you just let me take you outside? I'll kick you in the privates and you can go on down the road. Well, that's what's happened to the United States taxpayer. That's what's happened to the United States worker. That's what's happened to the United States citizen. And all you have to do is go to the grocery store to figure it out. And this thing that's coming, and I think you would agree, Charlie, it is going to make 2008 look like a cakewalk, and it's looking like it's going to happen very soon.
Yeah, and the only thing that makes me hesitant of saying very soon is the ability for these financial juggernauts, right, that have positioned themselves to write legislation and steer our government and global governance. They've managed to string it along this long. So how much longer could it go? I don't know. But if we look at the signs that preceded the last collapse in 2008, which I think was just, it was a 9/11. It was a financial terrorist event in order to position these individuals in the positions of power that they are, in order to position our government into doing the bidding of these people who are in positions of power in the financial industry. I think that is what 2008 was all about, knowing full well that a half a decade down the road, when it was all going to come apart and they were going to be sitting there with tons and tons of gold and tons of silver and basically laughing as they are the bank.
That's exactly right. That's a great point, Charlie, and I would completely agree with that. The one thing is, like you mentioned, it happening soon. That is the question mark, and that is the one thing that I have been wrong about. That's probably the one thing that you've been wrong about. Everything else has happened, yeah. and it's amazing. It's like squared. In other words, if what 2008 was, you could double it easy. In fact, if you look at the numbers in debt, it's probably triple the size that we were back in 2008. And of course, Dodd-Frank, that was supposed to stop all of that.
Yeah.
But the only thing that they really stopped was a true audit of the Federal Reserve. So protect yourself while you can, listeners. Give us a call and visit our website. I'll plug it one last time. It's www.austincoins.com. You can visit our YouTube page, our Learning Center. Give us a call, 1-800-928-6468. I don't even have a special for this show because the special is we have silver that is live, that can be shipped, and there's not a lot of it left. My recommendation would be to get what you can while you can in that particular market. And Charlie, I'm glad to have you back in the loop because you're a real inspiration to me because you and I kind of went down the same path, but you chose to do something about it. When I say do something about it, I mean go public, create a website, produce YouTube videos. that's one thing that I never wanted to do really until I talked to you. So I want to thank you for that.
Yeah, you bet. And you're doing a great job. I mean, you know, the videos are always popular, and your program's always popular, and you know, you do a lot of these all by yourself. So I think you're doing a great job, and I'm glad you're sticking with it. In fact, I would encourage you to, you know, start doing your commentary videos as well, because I think you do a great job presenting facts and waking people up, without a doubt.
Well, that's the thing is commentary videos are a little shorter, and therefore people are more apt to listen to the whole thing. And one thing that I have figured out, I'm a great researcher, I'm a great sales manager, I'm a great coin salesman. Not so much of a great radio host, but I get better almost every time. So
you're selling yourself short, Gabe.
Yeah, thanks again, Charlie.
All right.
Talk to you soon.
All right, guys, I'll be back tomorrow night, either just me or me and Eric Lovely. Thanks, everybody, for tuning in. This has been Wide Awake News with Gabe Elton of the Awesome Report. See you tomorrow.
You have been chosen, yes, you, to discover for yourself what thousands have already experienced, the most life-changing health product in the world. It's called Royal Velvet, and there's nothing else like it. Royal Velvet users testify to receiving hundreds of benefits, from reversing the effects of aging to mental clarity, as well as noticeably improved sleep, energy, libido, overall health, and so much more, including saving lots of money. This is the real deal, that once-in-a-lifetime opportunity that you will regret if you don't act upon it. Honestly, there is an extremely limited amount of raw material, making it available only to a select few, a very select few. So find out why you have been chosen. Go to RoyalVelvetNow.com, click on the rinse icon in the upper right-hand corner for an incredible surprise. Oh yeah, if you place your order before we run out of them, you will receive the eye-popping but simple-to-read book that tells you how to live in divine health, and it's free. RoyalVelvetNow.com.
In 2007, one man, Mike Dillard, made 5 predictions which forecasted the 2008 economic crisis and the pending Eurozone collapse. 3 brand new, shocking, must-watch videos with predictions for the coming year. www.the3videos.com. Over the past year, Mike Dillard has helped thousands of ordinary people create and recover wealth by tapping into the black box investing strategies the big banks don't want you to know about. www.the3videos.com. As the European banking system implodes and governments collapse at breakneck speeds, the next 12 months will be the most anticipated and important months in modern human history. This will make 2008 look like a walk in the park. Everyone will be affected. Go to www.the3videos.com now. Learn how to prepare your family and prosper during the global financial collapse.
You're listening to the Rense Radio Network, nationwide and worldwide on the net and at rense.com.